Here with us today is Elaine Jackson, who is a highly proficient and dedicated project manager who enjoys teaching project managers and senior executives proven techniques that lead to successful and confident project delivery. Her 15 plus years of experience in training, consulting, and coaching involves driving full understanding of project management. She is currently coaching youth to look at successful approaches to daily school and work activities using project management. Her certification in sustainability allows her to claim SME status when speaking on green project management and delivering professional learning events. Toastmasters SME is a claimed title she holds with over 17 years of expertise as a professional speaker. Elaine, welcome, and thank you for doing this interview.
Anna, thank you so much for having me on your PMP platform, and I'm looking forward to sharing some information that might help some of the other project managers listening.
You have been a project management instructor for over 15 years. How often do your students ask you about the benefits of building a career in project management?
Well, thank you for that question. So what's interesting is that many project managers seem to have an idea of what they want, because many times they're driven, right? Project managers like to tell everyone what to do. They know what needs to be done. But when it comes to their own lives, they get sort of stuck. And so the main reason clients come to me is they need more money. They want to get their PMP. So they say, well, I need more money, or I need a better job. I've got to get out of the job where I am. Or they say, well, their manager is giving them the next 3 months to get their PMP, or they're going to lose their job. So what you need to remember, Anne, is that those 3 months didn't come up all of a sudden. It probably was 1, 2, or 3 years the manager has been asking the employee to get the training done, and they say they don't have time, and one excuse after another. So people usually come to me when their life or their career is stuck and they have no way of dealing with the challenges of studying. And so I believe it would be ideal to have a career track mapped for training and duration for project managers to help guide them so that they know what do they need to take, when and where, in order to get to the ideal endpoint, whatever career path that is.
What drives you to actively share your experience and knowledge with others? How do you create your presentations, which are extremely enjoyable, both for your audience and yourself?
Okay, so you want me to give up my secrets? Okay, I'll try. This is really a touchy question. Many people in the US know that there is glass ceilings. I'm assuming all over the world there's a glass ceiling. You go for a job, and no matter what you do, you can't seem to get to that job. So we call that the glass ceiling. On the other side of that glass ceiling, people are earning 6- and 7-figure incomes. They're, getting the bonuses and all of the perks that you want, but somehow you can't get there. So there are also, which maybe some people don't know, lower thresholds. And those lower thresholds tend to block women and minority groups from reaching some of the higher goals and income levels. So I have actually been dedicated to helping corporations dissolve those barriers and to truly help them meet their goals. So when a company says that we offer equal pay for equal work, that we help them to achieve that by saying, let us train your staff. Let us help your staff meet your goals. They're not doing what they're supposed to do. Why are they not doing it? Why are they not following the initiative? When you say get the work done, there's a difference between saying get the work done and them actually getting the work done. There's a lot more that happens in between those two phases. So the thing is, okay, how can we help you move those people along? And so that's really what drives me. And in terms of presentations, I tend to want to have the listener transcend to another level in their career. It makes me so happy when people call and say, oh my God, I passed the PMP. Oh my God, I got that job that I've been going after and you helped me. And, there's just tears of happiness on both sides because I've helped somebody break through their own perceived glass ceiling. And I've also helped add to the profession in project management.
While working as a consultant at Holistic PMC, you led presentations on proficient job interview techniques and programs on reading nonverbal language clues during job interviews. What are the best ways for project professionals to have a very successful job interview?
Maybe I would say the best way to have a successful job interview is to hire yourself. But most people don't have the drive and the endurance to work for themselves, to own their own business and manage their own budget and deal with the marketing and all of that. You know, what they say, go hunting for the meat, kill the meat and bring it home and cook it and put it on the plate. You know, some people can only do piece of that. So my suggestion would be for people to look at, for job interviewing, practice, practice, practice. That's how people get into Juilliard, right? The most famous music school in the world. You need to practice your interview. You need to practice how you're going, your facial expressions. I know it sounds crazy. You're probably laughing. Those who are listening to the interview are probably laughing. Facial expressions, if you don't have the right face, that poker face on, you go to interview, the recruiters are taught to look at your facial expressions, get really up close and personal, look and see if your eyes are dilating or contracting, depending on the kind of questions that they give. Your body responds in a microsecond. And so in my workshops on communications for job interviews is to teach project managers what you should say, the questions you should ask, how you should ask the questions, pauses. They call them in the language of public speaking, we call that pregnant pause, where sometimes you don't say anything, and the person is hanging on the edge of the seat because the silence actually kills them. They like want to fill it with something. So you want to be almost like an actor and just stage what you're going to say, how you're going to say it, because you want that person to go on an experience with you during that interview so that they start to love and like you. They see you are like them. You're getting along with them. You know the things they know. And the reason you know the things they know is because you went on their LinkedIn profile and read up about them, and then went to Facebook, found out who their kids are and what they like to do. So you now start bringing those pieces into your presentation. So as project managers, I say you really need to understand various cultures. You need to understand the people who are interviewing you and be able to see, do you fit into that environment? If you don't fit into the environment, better not fake it. It's better that you don't sit there and fake it and pretend, because on day two, you're going to start hating the job, hating yourself, hating the people. Find the ideal job and then start to believe that you deserve it, and then work towards knowing everything about the company and the people, the culture, everything. And then when you go to the interview, the papers that you use are the same color as the logo that the company, it's a whole psychological breakdown. This last interview I went on, and I turned the job down because it wasn't exactly what I needed. But the woman was like, she was ready to fall out of the chair. The only problem is the money didn't fall out of the pocket. So I was like, no, I don't think this is ideal. So that's what I normally suggest, is really just getting as close to being an employee, and an employee that wears the sweater and the rah-rah, you know, shaking the little tassel, being a team player for the company. You've got to show that you really love it and you're part of it.
You have experience as a coach and trainer to audiences of different age groups, starting from young children, high school students, to already experienced professionals. What is the difference between leading a class, a presentation, and preparing a course for audiences of different ages?
Well, as we all know, there's a lot of differences in generations, right? And every generation has their little thing that's a little quirky about, oh, you're a Generation X, or you're Generation Y, or you're a millennium. So what I suggest, and I am not in any way an expert, I would love to hone my skills in being able to address any generation. My culture is originally from the West Indies. So what we say in the West Indies, you do what I tell you to do or else. So I try not to use that technique with my clients unless they're not doing what I tell them to do, to study for their PMP. And so what I suggest, like for classes, right, the body language is so critical. So when I'm talking to young people, very young people, like the middle school, high school, I tend to use facial expressions, turning my head side to side, you know, like a hip hop young people, you know, and I'm very energetic. I'm into a lot of like martial arts and fencing and stuff. So I can be jumping around the stage and I can, you know, just really get them excited about the energy that I'm putting out. Now, if I'm talking to a group of business analysts or maybe some group that really is more starch, more strict, I can't get it. I can't really be all out there on the edge because they may not identify with it. They may feel uncomfortable coming out of their skin. So you have to sort of look like with my classes, I go into jokes. I tell them some stories that probably no one in the industry tells. And they're like, oh my God, I never thought about that. In terms of presentations, I use graphics, the same thing. If you're talking to a younger group, you want to use graphics that add names of famous people that they can identify with. Whereas with an older group, you may want to use things that are more from their generation. But certainly staying away from things that might be harmful, like saying, oh, the little old lady was crossing the street. It's like, wait a minute, who are you talking about? You talking about me? You know, so the bottom line is you want to be aware that you're not harming other people's cultures or sexism or ageism. And then in terms of the course, I tend to ask students, what works for you? When you did your class last year, well, let me see your notebook. How do you take notes? Because getting an idea on how they like to take notes, if they say they don't take notes, for me, that's a problem. I've had students tell me they just let the information wash over them as they just sit and listen to it. When they tell me that, I said, we have to have a conversation because PMP material is not something you can just sit and listen to like a storybook. It's way more than that. So that, on a very high level, that's how I approach different age groups, doing presentations and use selling my courseware to them.
You have worked alongside Frank Saladis in the creation of the book A Day in the Life of a Project Manager, a collection of stories written by project managers who share their practical experiences associated with the managing of a project. What was the outcome from glimpsing into the real stories of project managers? How is the book helpful to other project managers?
Even now, it has been like 5 years since that book was produced, and people are still asking for it. They're like, where is that book? Where can I order it? It was the most exciting and challenging, I would have to say really challenging project because the scope sort of kept evolving. Things that we as Americans assumed, we just said, well, we'll put it out there and we'll get 200 people that want to write a book that are project managers, and they'll write a book, they'll write their story, and they'll keep it to like 5,000 characters. And we just had all these parameters, and we said they needed to know English. Well, English is a wide variety is a wide catch-all. It doesn't mean, English to me doesn't mean the same thing to you or to someone from the UK or someone from another country where English is a second language. So we got a mixed bag of individuals that after a sentence, they did no space, two spaces, after a paragraph, no space, four space. It was everybody looked at grammar and everything different. And I was like, oh my God, I did not expect this. I just expected that people would have followed a certain rule of grammar and English words, like when Peter Taylor writes in English, his English is different than American English. It was like, do we change it or do we leave it the same? And it was just a lot of controversy around what to do. And the group kept getting bigger and bigger. It was a project that really everyone still now talks about with just such reference of happiness and saying that they learned a lot from it. So I would say the book is out there still if people want to look at a copy or read it. The stories were so varied, from personal stories to project stories, things that people felt were important to the industry. It's called A Day in the Life of a Project Manager.
You have been a GPM practitioner for 6 years already, and you continue to show your support toward the Sustainable Project Management Initiative. What are the benefits for a PM professional from bringing sustainability in their work?
Well, I look at GPM or Green Project Management as like project management on steroids. So when you do project management, you say you can triple constraint, time, cost, scope, and you're trying to handle the communication with your stakeholders, and you're really trying to balance everything so that the project goes at a smooth rate or smooth pace so that it finishes on time and that everybody's happy. But anyone listening to this as a project manager or program manager, that's not the case. There's a lot of I don't want to say backstabbing, but I guess I did say it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot of issues that go on, people's personalities. We have very, very strong personalities in project management. And so it's important to balance all of that. And so as a GPM, you're not only looking at the triple constraints, you're also looking at how do those constraints impact people? Are you hiring the right people? Did you hire people who are underage? Did you hire people who came into the country illegally and now you're overworking them because they can't report you to any, because they're undocumented. So who are they going to report? They'll end up reporting themselves. Is any part of your project unethical? Is there any corruption going on that you're hiding or that may be there, but you don't know, but you're still working on the project? Something happens, you're going to have to go to court and testify. Is your project impacting the environment? Is there more carbon output? Is there more disease in this world because your project put contaminants out and now children are sick, older people are sick? So it's looking at the P5s, it's looking at how this profit process, looking at the organizational process assets, so to speak, looking at all the areas that triple constraint can now impact. So it's looking at a multi-layered approach. Project managers can easily get into sustainability, but I think that, like in the past, people wait. They say, okay, the sky is falling. Well, I haven't seen any evidence of it, so I'm going to wait. Global warming is coming. I don't believe in it. And then all of a sudden now we have these swings of temperatures, winters where there's hardly any snow. There's actually been snow in areas where, like, giraffes are standing in snow. I saw it last year and I don't remember where. It was somewhere in some desert somewhere. And I'm like, wow. I mean, they're just standing there. And how can you avoid that? So project managers really have a responsibility to take the next level of transitioning their careers into sustainability. It's an easy transition. I have a presentation on it. I'll share it with the group if they'd like. But it's an easy transition, and it's a transition that must happen.
How important is it for professionals that aspire to become project managers to acquire any of PMI certifications? And what are the benefits for project management professionals to keep earning PDUs after obtaining such certifications?
Anna, this is such an important question, right? Should I get the certification? I'm 50 years old and I've been doing this job for 30 years and I've been doing it good. Why do I have to? It's important. When individuals come to me, the first thing I let them know is that as a project manager, you want to be able to be on the same page with everybody. Everybody needs to call everything by the same terminology. You need to say, well, about this, we need to do some brainstorming. Someone in the room shouldn't say, well, what's that? There should be some common nomenclature, some common knowledge, and that doesn't happen in projects where you have people who are trained and people who are not trained. And so it's normalizing the amount of knowledge so that no one can ever say, I didn't know, no one told me. In terms of certification, it's a necessary evil. And the more I'm an Aries, so I believe more. The more certification you have, the more access to knowledge. It doesn't mean that you're smart. It just means that you're smart about the way you're going about making sure you are on even keel with everybody else on the team. That when you go for a job interview, you don't say, well, I've been on the job 30 years. That means you just sat there and you were overlooked for raises or bonuses or even getting let go because you sort of kept your head low. You stayed in your cubicle and you stayed quiet. There's a saying that the nail that sticks up gets hit. I'd rather get hit and tagged for something better than sit in the same thing over and over and then retire and I'm no better off than the day I started. Certifications is really important. PMI certifications as well as other certifications are critical to grow your career, stay fresh, stay current, so that when there's a situation within your project, you can talk with knowledge rather than speak it out of turn. And then someone says, where did you get that from? That information is from 20 years ago. That's not valid information. You need to go and read some current books. Nobody wants to be embarrassed in a meeting, but it does happen. So you need to read up and be current on information, and if you want to hold your jobs, you're going to have to be certified and trained and be willing to speak up when the time comes on your project meetings.
One of your expertise as a project management instructor is leading training for the PMP certification. What is your advice to project managers who are willing to take the PMP exam? What are the best ways for them to prepare and pass the exam?
Loaded question. I could talk forever on this, but I won't, because I know you gave me 2 minutes, right?
Yes.
So the important thing, if someone listening wants to get the PMP, I think the most important thing is to say to yourself, why do I want to get it? Because this is almost, if you think about it, this is almost the same kind of decision one would make if they say they want to go to law school, or they want to go to medical school, or they want to be a brain surgeon. This is like a major step in one's career, because it's not you just read a book and then you take a 10-question test and it's done. There are many layers to this whole process. First, making a decision to do it, understanding what that impact of that decision is going to be now, during, and at the end. And there's life after the PMP. After the PMP, you have to keep up your PDUs, keep going to training. You have to just keep growing in the field. You can't just get it and then it's like a vaccination. You get it one time and it's over. You have to keep going. And so the important thing one important thing I can say during this interview for anyone that's on the fence is to say, why are you doing it? And are you willing to do whatever it takes? There's a breakdown before the breakthrough. And the breakdown is when you have to study until you're ready to cry. Study late at night, study through when you're hungry, when you're tired. Are you willing to go to the edge and stay there? And if you're willing to follow the instructions of your coach and you're willing to sit out through everything it takes to get that PMP, you'll get it. If you're not willing, chances are it may not be the right thing for you right now.
You have been involved in the coaching and guiding of PMI Global Conference and PMI EMEA Congress presenters to perfect their presentations and confirm clarity and impact for optimal messaging. With that said, what would your advice be to project management professionals that would like to step up and share their expertise with others but do not know how to begin?
Well, when we spoke about this question, what we talked about are people looking to present to PMI, or are people looking for a track record on how do they go from being a project coordinator, how do they go to being project expediter, project team lead, project manager, program manager, portfolio manager. What does that track look like? And when we talked a little earlier, I said there should be some sort of a mapping as to what do you need to do to get to those various steps. Even like Frank Salatis he's not a founder, but he has a very high title within PMI. There are, I think, only like 16 or 20 of them within PMI. And so the bottom line is, how do you advance in the career, or how do you get to the point where you can go and do presentations? I evaluated, I would say, probably close to 30 presentations. And these are people that had various ranges, some very little experience. They were afraid of delivering a presentation, but guess what? They were winners because they were willing to step out of their comfort zone and just sit there in the fire of doing a presentation and knowing that it's going to take their career to the next level. So that is what project managers need to realize, that whatever you do, if you're feeling uncomfortable and you're feeling like, oh my God, I'm going to almost die, you're not going to die. And what I say about the PMP, no one has ever died taking the PMP exam. I've checked it. I researched it. I haven't found anyone that they went to take the test and just before they finished the test, they dropped dead. Never. you feel like you want to. The same thing with doing presentations. So I would say the best thing for people to do it to get started is to get started. Make a plan. I'm going to join Toastmasters. I'm going to learn how to give the different speeches and how to speak with expression and how to move a crowd to cry and how to get them to laugh and how to get them to run up to the front and ask me for my business cards at the end of their presentation. If you're a low-key person and you don't like all that touchy-feely stuff, then what kind of presentation do you want to give? You want to give a presentation like a minister? If that's your style, then work on that kind of presentation, dearly beloved kind of a speech. But if you have a lot of energy in you and you just want to come out and share that with everyone, there are avenues, not only Toastmasters, it's National Speakers Association. So I would suggest that you get started rather than say for 20 years, I wish I had, if only I had.
Elaine, thank you for joining us today, for providing advice, and for sharing your professional experiences with our readers and listeners.
Thank you so much, Anna. Thank you again. And it's been a pleasure. And I look forward to networking with you and helping you in other endeavors.
Yes, that would be wonderful. I really appreciate it. Thank you, Elaine.